Okay, it's connecting. And now we're just going to have that 15-second delay that I warned you about while we connect to our mighty mystery friends. All right. And we are live. Welcome, mighty mystery friends. I'm your on-air host, Sara DiVello. And I am absolutely thrilled to be hosting the incredible Anthony Horowitz today, whose brand new book, Moonflower Murders, is out, follow-up to his famous Magpie Murders. Anthony, we are thrilled to have you. Welcome to Mighty Mysteries. Tell us about your book.
Oh my goodness, how long do I have? Only half an hour. Moonflower Murders. Moonflower Murders is a sequel to Magpie Murders, although if you haven't read Magpie Murders, it doesn't matter because it's a standalone book. And it once again features my main character, Susan Ryland, who is not a detective, but an editor, a publishing editor, who gets drawn into a murder because of one of her authors, Alan Conway, who has written a book about a murder. And what you get in Moonflower Murders is a book inside a book. You've got the modern world of Susan Ryland and her interests and her loves. And you've got this book that she has to read because it will give her the clue to a murder that has been committed. It sounds complicated, but it isn't. When you read it, it all makes sense.
I absolutely love that. A book within a book. And I have to share just one of your many, many rave reviews. AJ Finn saying, Moonflower Murders showcases Horowitz's full battalion of strength, the whiplash plotting, the leather smooth prose, the bold energy, and above all, the bright spark of joy that ignites the best fiction, the joy of a storyteller finding brave new ways to dazzle his audience. Sophisticated literate novels aren't supposed to be so much fun. Wow, rave review there. So Anthony, tell us, what's the secret to whiplash plotting? How do you do that? And Anthony's joining us live from London.
I mean, the truth of the matter is that I spend longer planning the book than I do writing it. I spend hours and hours and weeks and months, and I go through a notebook which has, I think, about 50 pages of notes and diagrams and flowcharts and questions and ideas and doodles and all sorts of things, which are, if you like, the mechanics of the book. It's sort of the engine room. What I like to say is my book is like a watch, like a Swiss watch. Inside, it's got all these cogs and wheels and springs and diamonds, but when you look at it, it's very easy to tell the time. And that's the idea. So the story is easy, but the mechanics are hard.
Ooh, I love a good analogy. And I love the analogy of a Swiss watch. So tell us what it's like in that engine room plotting, as you said, so meticulously. What is your research process like? How long does it take you to research? How long does it take you to write? Tell us all the things.
Well, there's not a lot of research needed because the sort of whodunit, the murder mystery world is a very closed world and it's not full of sort of modern day technology. And I don't use forensics. One of the joys I think about writing murder mystery for me is not to use science and computers and photographs and fingerprints and blood splatter and all the sort of stuff that you might need research for. I'm more interested in a sort of a slightly more old-fashioned way of solving crime by sitting back and using what Poirot called the little grey cells and thinking about it.
Yes, and you have received...
Go on.
You've received rave reviews comparing you to Agatha Christie, the queen of the murder mystery. And I love what you're saying. I just want to welcome everyone on Facebook. Welcome everyone. So welcome Darlene, welcome Gail, welcome Joanne. Gail saying busy day. She's so excited for this. Welcome Kimberly, my fellow Mighty Blaze author. She says she's so excited for this interview. She's a huge Alex Rider fan in her house. Her whole house says she also loved the Magpie Murders. Welcome Margaret, welcome Gail. She says, welcome Karen. Amanda said you did that so well in Magpie Murders. Wonderful, Amanda, and I'm betting that Anthony has done it again in Moonflower Murders.
Well, to be honest with you, I wasn't planning to do a second book. Magpie Murders I always thought of as a one-off, but it was so popular and so many people enjoyed it. There was a lot of pressure on me to come up with a sequel. And I began to think, can I do this a second time? So what I didn't want to do was to do it a second time, not as well as the first time. So I would say, oh, Magpie Murders was great, but, you know, Moonflower wasn't so. But actually, in some ways, I think Moonflower Murders is better because I came up with another idea, and it was a completely different idea, a new way of playing the same trick. And, you know, I'm so excited that the book came out in the United Kingdom about a couple of months ago. People have loved it and nobody has guessed it. That's what I always want to know. Did you guess the endings? And nobody has.
Oh, that is fantastic. And I think that is the challenge of every mystery writer. So how do you write a book where no one guesses the ending, but at the end of the book, nobody feels tricked or duped or that you withheld information from you? How do you walk that line? Ooh, Anthony's frozen.
Don't read, and if you don't feel cheated in, that's just important. All the clues are there. All the information you need to solve the crime is in front of you, but it's been presented thing in murder is absolutely fair with the reader, so you don't feel that about. You know, I say look over there, and I'm pointing to the left, but that's only because I don't want you to see what I'm doing on the right. And I often think that and performing a magic trick is really quite a similar. You're really doing in both cases. You're misdirecting, you're tricking, you are pointing the wrong way, and all the time secretly you are showing the plot or developing the plot.
Ooh, I love that. And you were breaking up a little bit there, but I think we heard most of it, which is that you want to be fair with the audience.
So, who done it like a magic trick? The same thing. In fact, you know, I wrote a book some years ago called Moriarty, which is a Sherlock Holmes novel, and it is actually based. The whole book is based on a card trick. I took a famous card trick and I turned it into a novel because I think that magic and illusion, trompe-l'oeil, and murder mystery are very close cousins.
Ooh, I love that. So sleight of hand, twist of fate. Now I'm just quoting YouTube. Yeah. But no, I love that idea of the illusion of a magic trick. That's so insightful, so brilliant. Thank you. Darlene is saying she loves an unpredictable novel. Kimberly would like to know, which authors do you read, Anthony, for fun? Do you read mysteries, for example, or do you read something completely different?
Well, Kimberly, I never read a mystery. So great question. I never read a mystery when I'm writing a mystery because I get my head gets too confused about who the murderer is. And is it my murderer or your murderer? And also I get nervous about if a writer has got a brilliant idea in a murder mystery novel, I just get annoyed I didn't think of that idea. You know, and it often happens. In fact, in Moonflower Murders, there's a clue which I sort of found in an IR11 thriller. And it really annoyed me. I'd already written mine. And I thought, oh, how annoying. IR11 has had the same idea as me, and everyone's going to think I stole his idea. I didn't. I'd written mine already. But that's why I don't read murder mystery when I'm writing murder mystery, for that reason. But in terms of what I do read, I read a lot. I read 19th century literature. I love Charles Dickens, Anthony Trollope, Jane Austen, Thomas Hardy, George Gissing, George Orwell, many, many 19th century writers. I love 20th century writers and 21st century. Stephen King, still one of the greatest living writers on this planet. Don Winslow, I adore his books. He's just so fantastic. An English writer called Sarah Waters. I recommend her books to you 100-fold. Read, I've just finished a book of hers called, I've forgotten the name of it now. Affinity, a wonderful, if you want a book with a twist at the end of it, Affinity or The Little Stranger, the best ghost story you'll ever read. So that's just some of the stuff that I like.
Oh, wow. You're getting lots of thumbs up for that. Thank you so much for that, Anthony. And it's so fascinating that you don't read mysteries whilst writing a mystery, and that your reading interest spans so many, not only decades, but centuries, and such a wide variety of interests. Thank you for that glimpse inside. Noticing that you're recommending female writers and of course male writers. What's it like for you to write a female protagonist? How do you get in our heads?
Well, you know, I'm so happy you asked that question because who are only is Alex Rider and books for kids. It was such a joy to create Susan Ryland, and I have to love Ryland as a woman. So strong, intelligent, and
wait, you're freezing. Okay.
I'm married to a very, very strong and powerful woman. Breaking up a bit?
Oh, breaking up a bit. That's okay.
I love writing Susan, but and she tells me what to write, which is really great. I love her voice, and she's partly based on my wife, who is a very, very clever and successful producer. She produces Foyle's War and all my TV work, and she also sort of directs me and gets the best from me. So I just found that crossing over in the genders empowered me in a way I didn't think would happen.
Oh, wow. That is so interesting. So does your wife read your first drafts? Does she offer feedback? How's that work for your marriage?
My wife always reads everything of mine before anybody else. She's a brilliant critic. She knows very, very well when I write well, and she also knows when I'm writing less well, and she's not afraid to say it. So she'll often, she'll ask me to make changes, and sometimes I'll say, you crazy, this is perfect. That's only because I'm married to her. I think about it for 5 minutes, I make the changes.
Okay, all right, wow, excellent. Okay, because my marriage barely survived my husband reading my first draft, so it's good to know that there's light ahead. Or maybe
I also have a son who reads my work as well. My wife and my son are my best critics, and they're just fearless. And that's the most important thing to be. Is they know I'll get a little bit. I don't know. I'll get a little bit fractious, a little bit upset to begin with. But at the end, it's so valuable to have somebody that you can trust and who I love, who can actually tell me when I'm not doing my best work.
Wow, that's fantastic. I love that. Now, do you then have a small circle of first readers after your wife and your son? How does that work?
Yeah, my sister reads as well, and she's very, very good and never guesses the ending, which I like about her. And then, of course, I've got my editor. Actually, funnily enough, when I'm talking to you, I suddenly realized that pretty much everybody who reads my books before they're published are women. My wife, my editor, my sister, and my best friend, actually. And they're the four who always read it, and my son. So
I think we've solved the mystery of who's the better reader.
Well, when I was looking at Susan Ryland, for example, my editor, who is, as I say, a woman, was able to give me one or two insights into her personality that I might have missed. Obviously there are things about you and about the other gender that I don't always instinctively understand. But because she was, is a woman, she was able to give me occasional steers where I just not so much got things wrong as missed things out that I would have been thinking this. So I've had a lot of help from a lot of very smart women.
Yeah, exactly. I love that because I've interviewed a few male authors who have written, only a few actually. I've done 50 some of these interviews since the pandemic descended, and I've interviewed only a few male authors who have written female protagonists. And I always ask them, how do you write a woman? And I love to hear the answers. And it's so cool to know that you have this trusted inner circle of female readers, and that you're so open to feedback when they say, you missed something or whatever, and to try to create a female character that is not through the so-called male gaze of who you want the woman to be, but who the woman just actually is.
You make a very good point. You cannot be a man judging what women think if you're going to write a female character. You've got to be the female character, and you've got to be inside her, and you've got to write instinctively. I think that is important.
Yes, exactly. So what were some of the things that the editor said, I would do this differently about your female?
They were quite small in a way, but it was little bits. So in the very beginning of the book, Susan has been in Greece for 2 years, and because there's a murder in a hotel and she's been asked to solve it, she comes back to England to solve this murder. And my editor said one of the first things she would think is that after 2 years, her clothes are all out of date and they're all a little bit out of fashion. And she said that she should worry about that and maybe do a bit of shopping. And you know, because you can see from me wearing these rather ragged clothes I'm in at the moment, these things don't even cross my mind. I did put that in as just and it's not a big deal, you know, it's not changing the world or you know, or very much a major insight. But when you read the character, it feels true. And that's all that I'm after, really, is truth.
Oh, yes, I love that. All that I'm after is truth. Yes, and that is the challenge of fiction writing, is to make it feel true. These characters that you've imagined, that you've dreamed, that to
but
make
the funny thing is that fiction, although it is, you know, fiction as opposed to fact, I don't think fiction works unless it is based on absolute truth. And I think that one of the reasons why people enjoy murder mystery, whodunit, so much right now, there's been a huge spike in these books in the last year.
Yes.
And I have this belief that one of the reasons is that with all the news we get 24/7, all the fake news that we're now being told to be warned about, in a world where everything is changing all the time and we no longer know exactly what is the truth, a whodunit is the one book that dots every I, crosses every T, and gives you ultimate truth at the end of the story. You finish with a world which is locked off. The killer has been found and has gone to jail. The crime has been solved. The clues have been explained. The detective goes home.
Yes, this is so true. Murder mysteries, there is a kernel of truth that is so appealing to us right now in this age for all of these reasons that you pointed out. And honestly, I hadn't thought of it that way, because I was thinking, I too have only been able to read mysteries and thrillers since the pandemic descended, but I thought it was because the pace was so fast and my attention span has become so small. But you're so right. It's the truth of it, the authenticity, the honesty of it.
There is that satisfaction, I think, but also, I mean, you know, murder mystery, let us also be honest, I think there's a little bit like a crossword puzzle, that when you're reading a murder mystery, if it's written properly and you're absorbed in the characters and the world of the story, it's a wonderful form of literature to sort of curl up with. It's like a sort of a blanket you can draw over yourself. It's a sort of a cozy sensation to be in a murder mystery story. Even though murder is part of it, it is still very attractive and cozy as a world.
Yes. Oh my God, that's so true.
You can forget elections, and you can forget Brexit, and you can forget COVID, and you can forget. All you're thinking about is why was that fingerprint there? Why did she say that? And who was that guy who looked in at the window at that moment? What's going on here? And that's all your energy is just absorbed in the puzzle. It's one of the reasons I love writing these books.
Yes. Oh, yes. Anthony, thank you. You're you're opening my mind, and I feel like I'm getting it now. This is so cool. You're so right. And I have found them incredibly comforting, and then started to wonder, why do I find murder comforting? And this is why.
It's one of the things that always interests me, which is why is it that a murder, if you saw one in the street, would disgust you and horrify you, and you'd look away, or you might look, but with horror. But a murder in a story just makes you smile. You know, it's death without the sort of the sting, if you like. It's sort of without the unpleasantness. It's sort of and I like that about the murder mystery as well. You know, I always say you don't read a murder mystery for the murder. You read it because the murder introduces you to a whole world and to a whole range of characters that you want to know. It's an excuse, right? The murder opens the door into the world of the whodunit. And that's, again, one of the reasons why I like it. Because you don't, you know, the other thing is that you don't murder anybody for a little reason. You don't murder somebody because you're a little bit, or because you disagree with them a bit. You murder somebody for big, big emotion. So when you meet people in the world of a whodunit, the emotions are already out there. They're huge. Everybody has big secrets to hide. Everybody has things they're scared of. Everybody has emotions that are bubbling up to the surface. And that's, again, very much the excitement of a good whodunit.
Ooh, yes, that's so true. I love that. It's so true. Oh my gosh. Amanda would like to know, she said, I read both Magpie Murders and The Word is Murder during the lockdown in March with the rain and the fire going on. And it was the coziest experience, she says. Thank you,
That's a
Amanda.
lovely thing, Amanda. And I hope I wanted to say to you, I love feeling that my books are there as a sort of a safety blanket in this sort of terrible time. And I love the idea of the rain pattering against the windows and the fire roaring. And there you are sitting, turning the pages in one of my books. So thank you. And stay well and stay reading and stay happy.
Yay! Darlene is saying, Anthony, your passion for writing is so evident in the way you speak about it. Darlene, well said. I couldn't agree more. Anthony, your incredible energy and excitement is infectious. I know I'm getting fired up by the minute. This is fantastic. Margaret says, what would the opposite of that cozy? Margaret says, what would the opposite of that cozy feeling of a murder mystery be then? Horror? She's wondering.
Well, I think that there are books that are, I think that there are books that I read which are non-fiction. I think non-fiction can be very harsh. I've been reading books about the Holocaust recently, and reading those books just reminds me of how ghastly human people can be and how awful the world can be. I've been reading a history of Greece in non-fiction as well. And so much of the history of Greece, a country I love incidentally, is about bloodshed and about violence and about political unrest, and it's sort of, and that's dark. And there is also a type of fiction. I mentioned Don Winslow. He's a brilliant writer, but boy, he can sometimes paint a very, very bleak world. And some of the violence in his books is absolutely shocks me. I recommend him 100%. But the Border trilogy, which I read recently, which Power of the Dog is the first one in that, and The Border is the second. Those books, which are shocking and violent and really in your face, are the opposite of my sort of storytelling. I actually did an interview with Don, and somebody suggested that he and I should collaborate on a book together. And I said, what sort of book could possibly encapsulate Don Winslow and me? We are so on opposite sides of what books can do, but we like each other's work, which is rather nice.
That is rather nice. I love that, and the mutual respect that you have for each other.
Well, yeah, and I will tell you this: that the crime writers are the nicest people in the world. It's a funny thing I've noticed, which is that these people who are dealing in often horrendous violence and murder and ugliness are themselves the nicest, kindest, most collegiate people you can find. It's really interesting.
I've noticed that as I've segued from
all the interviews you've done. I mean.
Yeah, it's true. And I've noticed that as I've segued from memoir into mystery, I almost thought, is this possible that these people are this nice, or is this kind of, are these people faking it? Because they are the nicest, most supportive, most incredibly kind community I've ever met. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Because in my book, in the book within the book, it's got reviews in it. The inside the main book, Moonflower Murders, is another book called Atticus Punt Takes the Case, which doesn't really exist. It's sort of it's a book in a book, and that book in the book has got reviews from Peter James and from Lee Child. And I rang them and I said, "Do you mind if I use your name in my book?" And they said, "No, go ahead, and that's fine." And again, it was just so nice of them. Everybody I asked just said, "Yeah, sure."
Oh, that's so fun! I love that those are real. That's fantastic. Amanda says she's reading Moriarty now. She says you are amazing in capitals and a huge inspiration to her as an author.
Well, thank you so much for that comment. All I want to say is that I hope the end of that book absolutely blows you away. There is a surprise coming your, and I wonder if you'll see it before it arrives.
Ooh, Amanda, you have been warned by Anthony Horowitz.
No spoilers. No spoilers. No spoilers.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Andrea says she's reading Moonflower Murders now. She absolutely loves your books. Andrea, thank you so much. Welcome, Lucinda. Amanda says you are hilarious. We are getting so much love for this. So, Anthony, you love Greece. You have traveled extensively. I also love Greece. It's, I think, one of my top favorite countries I've ever been to. But you have traveled extensively and adventurously. Tell us what is one of your top 3 favorite travel memories?
Oh, travel memories. I suppose. Well, this year I visited the island of gosh, what was the one I did? Amorgos. So the island of Amorgos was the most beautiful of all. Every time I go to a Greek island, I find it more beautiful than the one before. And this year happened to be Amorgos, and it was just so wild, so desolate. The Aegean Sea is so beautiful. That would definitely be one. Suffolk. I go to Suffolk off the coast of England every year. I write up there, and that's all about the rain coming down horizontally, the wind coming all the way from eastern Siberia, howling across the sea, and the sky like sheet metal, so grey, so hard. But I love that too. So Suffolk and Greece, they couldn't be more different. And the third one, what is the third one? San Francisco. I was in San Francisco a few years ago, and I had a week there. And if I'm going to put a city onto my tour of the world, it would be San Fran, which I absolutely adored. Just the combination of the art there. The Museum of Modern Art in San Francisco is one of my favorite places in the whole world. The best restaurants I can remember, and just so many great movies. Bullet, which is filmed in San Francisco, and saying, hey, that was where McQueen drove down. That was fantastic too. So there you are.
Wow.
To love.
I was not expecting to hear San Francisco. Anthony, you're taking me by surprise.
Why? Is that not somewhere you like?
No, I mean, I do like San Francisco, and I've been lucky to be there several times, but I just wasn't expecting to hear Greece.
I was thinking, Alexa, you throw a question at me, 3 travel places. I thought, well, 1 hot, 1 cold, and now let's do the city. I could have talked about Paris or Rome or Los Angeles. I like going to New York, of course. I've been to many, many times. And, I'll tell you something, that if there's 2 things I miss in COVID right now, the first is not being able to be with you, to be talking face to face to you rather than over this dodgy, crackly, snarly screen, and not to have the human contact, to be able to embrace, to be able to hold on to people. I think that we underestimate how horrible it is not to be able to hold another human being in our arms safely, a stranger. But the other thing I miss is travel. I mean, not being able to travel and not being able to go around the world and to be in different locations. I'm in lockdown in London here for the moment, and have been for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And I just want to I want to get on a plane. I love my travel.
Yes, exactly. I also miss that, and I do think I realize now more than ever that I really miss human contact. And I'm lucky to be quarantining with my husband, because I know some people are quarantining alone, but it's still lonely. I miss doing events. I miss meeting people. I miss hugging people. And I miss that human contact and the energy of that so much. And as this draws on for longer and longer, I'm missing it more and more. So thank you for sharing that you are as well. I just want to say to Facebook, we have just a few more minutes with Anthony, just another 3 to 5 minutes. So if you have any more questions. Oh wait, Anthony, you're breaking up a tiny bit. If anyone has any more questions for Anthony, just put them right in the chat. We'll get them in the next few minutes. Anthony, are you, okay, you're back. Okay, perfect. Thank you for sharing that. You're also missing traveling and human contact.
I am, but I'm just going to say that, 2020 has been this terrible year, but, that now it has a game changer, and I want to say to everybody watching today that that I hope the holidays are.
Wait, we lost you.
Determined that it never happens again.
Oh wait, yeah. Wait, can you say that one more time, Anthony? We lost you a little bit.
I just want to say that, 2020 has been this awful year, yes, but there is now some light at the end of a tunnel. There is a vaccine. And yes, I just hope I want to say this to all your people watching this and on Facebook, that I just hope that we all stay safe and stay well, and that next year we can look back on this terrible year with a sort of a smile and a determination that what has happened never happens again.
Yes. Let's do that. Let's do that. Well said. Thank you, Anthony. So we just have a few last questions for you. Amanda would like to know what you're working on now. Kimberly also says, what's next for you, Anthony, writing-wise? Another book, another TV series? So
the big news is that Magpie Murders is being filmed next year. And I've been working on the screenplay for that. I finished all 6 scripts. We have wonderful casting. I'm not allowed to say who it is, but we've got a wonderful, wonderful, huge piece of casting for Susan. I'm also working on the next season of Alex Rider, which is Alex Rider. My kids' books are at the moment on IMDb. You can see them right now. Season 2, I'm working on. I've just come out of a big Zoom call with a writer on that. I've got a new Hawthorne novel coming out next year. The Word is Murder, The Sentence is Death. The third book hasn't got a title yet. My publisher just threw out the title, but loves the book. So I'm working on that. And I've done I've just done another Sherlock Holmes short story, but quite long, 10,000 words. And I'm determined that it should get published in the USA somehow, somewhere. So that's some of the work I've been doing.
Oh my gosh, Anthony, when do you sleep? When do you eat? That's amazing. You're so busy. That's fantastic. Andrea is saying she loves all of your books and your incredible energy. Andrea, I couldn't agree more.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So unfortunately, we're out of time. So I just wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you for your excellent questions and for your energy. Anthony, thank you so much for coming.
I loved every minute of talking to you. You should show everybody a photo of your absolutely adorable dog before you stop, because I got the pleasure of seeing, God, what's his name? The hairy one. That's what I can remember. The hairy one.
Yes, Peluda, who means the hairy one. Oh, Amanda says she has a guess that Olivia Colman may be involved. Well, Anthony's.
I love Olivia Colman. I do love Olivia, because she'd be great, wouldn't she? But I'm not allowed to say anything.
Anthony is saving that mystery, a third act plot twist for us. He is the mystery master.
Not who done it, but who's going to do it.
I love it. Anthony Horowitz has segued from who done it to who's going to do it. And like the mystery master he is drawing out the suspense. We absolutely love it. Amanda saying this was so great. Darlene saying thank you, Sarah and Anthony. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I want to thank my partner in crime, Margaret Pennard, my fellow author and producer. She specializes actually in English and Scottish fiction. She's amazing. Thank you for producing this, Margaret. I appreciate you. Everybody, Anthony's book is available today in the US and through our very special partnership from bookshop.org. You can support independent bookstores, and they need our support. Heartbreaking statistic, 1 independent bookstore per week has gone out of business since the pandemic descended. We have to support them. So you can get his book today and support indies. So please do so. And then let us know, circle back and let us know how you're enjoying the Moonflower Murders. Anthony, thank you. You are absolutely.
I love talking to you, and I'm on Twitter. If anybody wants to get in touch with me, they can find me at Anthony Horowitz on Twitter. Always happy to reply to anyone who sends me any messages.
Oh, how lovely. And Margaret has also linked that in the comments as well. So just go over there and click follow. And Anthony has very graciously said he'll reply to everyone. Oh, Anthony, you're incredible. Thank you so much.
I'd love talking to you. Keep well, and talk to you again one day face to face.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, and have a great day.